Hi guys, this is Jeff with Big Daddy Reptiles, and I just wanted to make a video real quick for those of you who are new to the reptile scene, specifically snakes. Um, so let's get into it. If you're going to go with a snake as a pet, mainly a constrictor, definitely what I would get into first is ball pythons, and they're the most common type you can get. So there's so many different morphs out there, and for those of you who don't know what morphs are, it's just a different type of ball python that has different patterns and colors, such as your albinos and your pinstripes, things like that. So if you're going to get into snakes that are constrictors, go with ball pythons. They're very simple to take care of, very easygoing snakes. Most of them are not very aggressive except for when they are babies. They do tend to be a little bit nippy. But the more you handle them and the older that they get, the more docile they become. I don't want to say tame. A lot of people use the word tame, but in all reality and just all the facts that are out there, it's a wild animal. Regardless if it's captive bred or if it's wild caught, it's still a wild animal and it has wild nature. You can never tame it. You can make it more docile and handleable, but you can never tame one of these snakes. There's a big difference in the definitions of those two words. Um, so mainly, I just wanted to talk about their size, what they eat, their enclosure types, their humidity and temps, and explain to you guys why a ball python is a good first pet as a snake. So, ball pythons, with their enclosures, you can use simple Sterilite or Rubbermaid tubs. You never have to have a cage, and never, ever use a tank or an open air cage. An aquarium tank and an open air cage do not hold humidity, and they're just not very good for your pet snakes that are like this, that need a little bit higher humidity and temperature. If you have a corn snake or if you have garter snakes, something like that would be good for a small 10 or 20 gallon aquarium, but not for these. Now, what I have in here for bedding at the moment is just some simple aspen bedding shavings, and you can get it at Walmart for about $3 to $6 for a bag of it, and the smaller bags actually go a long way. It doesn't look like there's much in there, but once you open the bag, you take some out and you break it apart, it goes a very long way. So, if you are looking for cheap bedding, you can get aspen, and do not use cedar or any kind of redwood. It is very poisonous to your reptiles. It will kill them. It could make them very sick. So use this. More commonly, what people use as bedding, which I will be starting to do after all this bedding is no good, I'm going to start using paper towels and newspaper. Now, I went on Amazon and I ordered a huge, big brick of 500 sheets of blank, no print newspaper. It cost me $10 for 500 sheets. That's a lot of newspaper. And so you can get bedding really cheap, and these Sterilite and Rubbermaid tubs are very cheap. They range anywhere from $3 or $4 on up to $20, $30. Just depends on what size and style you want. For ball pythons, what you would want to start out with is a 20 or 32 quart tub, such as this. Now, my male is in here, and what you should always keep in mind, the tub should be about as long as your snake is. So, if I take my pet snake here, Odin, and I were to stretch him out, he's about 2.5, 3 feet. Now, this tub is about 2.5 feet long, and it's about, I want to say, 13 or 14 inches across and 6.5 inches deep. So, A tub like this is all you need, and you do not need anything for them to soak in, because what you do is you take a water bottle, such as this, which you can get at the dollar store for $1. You just mist down your aspen shavings or your newspaper, paper towels, whatever you have in here. Just mist it down a little bit till it's a little bit moist, and you just do that maybe a couple times a day, and that's good enough. Ball pythons enclosures do not need to be very big because they're not big snakes and they're not arboreal. Arboreal, if some of you don't know, means that they live in the treetops. These snakes are ground. They stay on the ground. They do not climb very often, and that's all they need. So you want to keep their enclosures on the smaller side. And you don't need anything for them to soak in, like I said. You just need a small water dish, big enough for them to see that they know there's water there and everything. You change the water out every day just like you would a cat or dog, fresh water every day. But you just need a small little thing of water like that. Or what I used is just a little Rubbermaid Tupperware dish like this. Just fill it up with cold water and put it on the cool side of the enclosure. Now, heating. When you're talking about heating, I don't recommend using heat mats like that that go under your tank, just because they tend to overheat after a while and could possibly burn a hole in your enclosure and start a fire. They burn themselves out really easy. What I recommend getting is FlexWatt heat tape, or you can also get heat cable. Heat cable ranges from 11 feet on up to 100 feet. So you have a big choice of what you want to get, depending on how big your enclosure is. When you're heating your snake's enclosure, what you want to keep in mind, you do not want the entire enclosure to be heated. You only want about a half of the enclosure to be heated, because with these snakes, they do not always stay on the hot side. They do not always like to be hot. They sometimes prefer to be on the cool side. Now, when I opened this enclosure with my large female in here, she was on the cool side. What I have is from here over is the warm side or hot side, and from here over here is the cool side. And that's how it should be. They always want to make sure that they have a good choice in temperature gradients when they are in their enclosure. You don't want to make them too hot, but you don't want them too cold. Now with ball pythons, you don't need to make their enclosures really hot, and you don't need it too cool. You don't need the moisture or humidity really high either. What you want for those, humidity and temperature should be at about 60% humidity, and the temperatures on the hot side or warm side should be about 85 to 88 degrees. On the cool side of the enclosure, about 83 degrees. So, not that big of a difference, and usually if you're using some kind of heating source like heat cable with a thermostat, which you can check my other videos and see exactly what I'm talking about. I have another video, a couple of videos on my channels about the thermostat and the heat cable and how good they are and whatnot. But anyways, I forgot what I was kind of saying. Sorry about that. But so about 60% humidity, and the temperatures are about 85 to 88 hot side, about 82, 83 degrees on the cool side. I do remember what I was going to say now. Now, when you have a heating source in or under your enclosure or your tub for your ball pythons, the air in the enclosure, as long as your house isn't really hot or really cold, it will even itself out. And like I said, you can always use a thermostat to check it, or have a couple of little